I can't hear you. Hold on. Hey.
Is it recording?
Oh yeah, we're recording.
Perfect. So, just get right into it.
All right, man.
Perfect. So, I'm Bryan East. I'm the owner at Three Brothers Jiu-Jitsu here in Lake Charles, Louisiana. This is our very first episode, and you are?
Rene Luderbach. I come to Three Brothers Jiu-Jitsu to train with this amazing coach right here.
Yut. So, very excited. The point of this is we just want to talk about a few things and kind of keep up to date with what's going on with the gym, and also what's going on in the world, what's happening with jiu-jitsu. The goal isn't necessarily to do just like a jiu-jitsu podcast. It's to talk about members, talk about what's going on. So to begin with, who are we? So I've been just about a lifelong martial artist. I started training personally, like taekwondo. I did tang sudo as well when I was much younger. I did a competition with my parents when we were living in England. And then I found jiu-jitsu through the Marine Corps. And then, yeah.
Is that when you found out all other martial arts were a lie? I'm just kidding.
Well, I realized,
was a joke.
I realized at a young age that like I wasn't gonna head kick a grown man, and that I remember feeling like off about that like this self-defense that I was learning, if they were just bigger and stronger than me, that striking, it would be very difficult. I learned quickly that like pressure points weren't a thing because I'm older. I'm 39. I say I'm older. I remember back when like Steven Seagal was a thing, you know, like you were gonna wrist lock somebody and flip them over. So
It was all 80s and 90s mentality.
Yes, sir.
That's all when we were growing up, that's all we learned.
absolutely, you see guys like Van Damme and stuff like that, like jumping roundhouse kicking people and knocking them out. And when you're 8, 9 years old and you're learning taekwondo or you're learning tang sudo or whatever martial art you're doing, you feel like that's what you're gonna do, and you quickly realize, like as you start competing or you start sparring with your partners, that's not how that goes. So it did. It kind of. It's funny you say that, but it did kind of like steal some of that shine, for me. Did you do any martial arts or anything like that?
I did boxing, some kickboxing, back home in Albuquerque. I did go to school with Holly Holm, so we had that background. Yeah,
I forgot about that.
graduating class. And oddly enough, I did go to Winklejohn.
Yeah.
I went to his gym at like 8 years old. They had
No
opened up
joke.
Kemco Karate. And so that was my first experience with martial arts. And it was, Karate Kid. I want to go learn from Mr. Miyagi.
Oh,
but
yeah.
You learn really fast that that's not the case.
Yeah, it takes a lot for sure.
I didn't get into martial arts though until, much older in life. I always consider myself a scrapper, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But, once you start learning jiu-jitsu, you find out really fast that your idea of self-defense isn't
scary.
the norm.
When I was in the Marine Corps, I met a guy that wrestled, a gentleman named Moses Hernandez, and he tossed me around a lot, and I quickly learned that like wrestling was a legitimate martial art, that you could absolutely use wrestling as like a self-defense skill. Like if you control where the fight takes place, you have an extreme advantage. You have a very powerful skill under your belt.
And that's just now becoming something known. Like when I was growing up, wrestling was just a sport that
Right.
people did.
Yes.
And again, it was also slandered by the WWE, and that's wrestling.
Yes, sir.
But then once you wrestle somebody that wrestles, you feel pretty helpless.
It's terrible.
It
It's
is.
absolutely horrifying. It's
It is.
a very hopeless situation. It feels like you're like covered in blankets and you just can't get up. But yeah, it really is a powerful art. To be able to like control where the fight takes place absolutely dictates what's going to go on. And yeah.
So you had your first run-in with jiu-jitsu in the Marine Corps.
So I had actually watched some UFC stuff with my dad when I was in high school. I remember we had a place called Bo's Videos in town, and you could go rent videos and stuff. But there was like an adult section, and I, as a older teenager, I wandered into their adult section and I found a UFC video because you couldn't just have it out and about. These are like human cockfights and stuff. This is dangerous, crazy stuff.
It was.
So I rented a video and I remember grabbing my dad and being like, "Hey, bro, check it out. Look what I found." And he sat down with me and we watched like Hoist Gracie and Tank Abbott and all those dudes in one of the like big tournament format styles.
That's crazy.
And I remember watching Hoist and thinking that that was something special. But it was like a Steven Seagal thing where like this one person can do that thing. This isn't something that everybody can do. You got to be like a super ultra master to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then when I was in the Marine Corps, they taught us arm bars and chokes and just very basic rudimentary jiu-jitsu stuff. And it blew my mind that I could do that to somebody that was like 200 pounds when I was 130 pounds or whatever, you know, like I could armbar you, that I could put all of my limbs against one of your limbs and you couldn't do much about it. It's kind of that like the way that wrestlers are able to pin people. They just know where to put pressure on somebody's body. Like, I don't want you turning over, so I put pressure on the far shoulder and the near hip, you know, so that you're flattened out. It really is just a technique thing that anybody could do this stuff. It just, you have to learn it.
Yep.
So
that's how I feel about jiu-jitsu is it's you're thinking while you're in action. And I think for most people, if they've ever been in a fight in their life, there's not much thinking going on. It's just adrenaline going.
100%.
And the more you train in jiu-jitsu, the more you're just thinking constantly about what you're going to do. You're not even thinking about pain at that moment. You're just thinking about that game of chess, you know, like what's my next move? What is this person going to do to me? How do I get out of this? How do I get from A to B?
Yes, sir.
And it's just a thought process.
I think chess is an excellent analogy for it. Because really, I think, and as you start to advance in jiu-jitsu, you're not finessing techniques necessarily. You're like setting people up. You're grabbing something so they block it. And that's what you really want, is that other hand to do this other thing. So it becomes this chess game where like, if I move this piece here, are you going to move this piece? And how do I create that dilemma for you where you have to do this thing I want you to do?
And white belts are all just the pawns.
If it makes you feel any
Sacrifice
better,
them.
as I roll with like Nick and stuff like that, I definitely feel like I'm still very much the pawn.
I feel like that's the mindset of every belt. They all, the good ones.
Yeah.
They are always constantly learning, and you have to be the pawn.
Yes.
In order to learn. That's another thing I love about jiu-jitsu is everyone's lost. you know, if you come into a jiu-jitsu gym and you think that the guys in a black belt, they're winners. No, they lost many times to get where they're at. And it's a very humbling experience.
Absolutely.
And the discipline that goes along with it.
Well, that's the thing, I think. You have to keep coming back. And that's where that discipline comes in, because you're going to lose. You're going to lose a lot. There's nothing wrong with losing. It's when you allow that loss to beat you. I can't think of a really fancy way to put it, but when you walk out the doors and you don't ever come back in, it beat you.
Yeah, you just got beat, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's how I feel.
And it's definitely okay to take those losses, though, to come in here and get choked or come in here and get armbarred. And that's the beauty of our sport. It's not, there's no trauma involved with that. At any point in time, you can tap and just reset. Like, I got beat. Totally fine. And a lot of times when you're rolling with higher belts, ideally they get you to a point where you can no longer continue. Like, I'm not going to break your arm, but I'm going to get you to a point where you know you're not getting that arm back. That's my arm now, you know? And then we hopefully tap and we quit and we reset.
That's what I love about it.
So I was going to ask you, you were in the military, right?
I was.
How long were you in?
I was in for about 5.5 years, United States Coast Guard.
Fun stuff.
Yep, stationed in San Diego.
Oh, fun. I was looking online the other day. One of our members, Paul, was telling me about how he went to a Chargers game, and for whatever reason, I think I was on Reddit or something, and I had seen this list of jiu-jitsu gyms in San Diego. Bruh. There's like huge schools.
Well, that's one of the
all over the place.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think that was one of the capitals of jiu-jitsu when the Gracies and everyone started moving it over here.
Oh, yeah.
San Diego, California.
Absolutely.
Hickson opened a gym in San Diego. I think that was one of his first places.
No joke.
I think. I might be wrong on that.
I do terrible with the history of jiu-jitsu.
Shame on you.
I know. Worst jiu-jitsu practitioner ever.
No way.
I'm just trying to learn how to do a berimbolo correctly still. So I was in the Marine Corps. I think I said that. Trying to think of other stuff. So I do want to talk about as well, like why would we do a podcast again to update people on what's going on with the gym. Yesterday, got to go to AGF, American Grappling Federation, over in Biloxi, Mississippi. Got to go with some of our members, the Dubar Death Squad, and that was a blast, man. They some of their older ones, the 8 and the 7-year-old Anna and Avila, did the Challenger division. So that's just, if you're close to this age, this weight, or not age, weight, age and skill level, they'll let anybody compete in it. Mm-hmm. So she had a gal that was a yellow belt that she got to compete against. Avila did, the older one, and she had some really good matches with her. Again, talking about losses and learning from that stuff, where she had a no-gi match with her where she kind of struggled, and then she was able to get a gi match with her where she did far better. But again, not letting those losses beat you, not saying like, well, she embarrassed me last time and whatever, coming out hard. And she did extremely well in her second match with her. I feel like jiu-jitsu, it allows you to grow. It allows you to see where you make a mistake and then grow from it. And I feel like that correlates to a lot of stuff in life, that when you can have that mentality that you can take a loss, but that doesn't beat you, I feel like that carries over into our everyday stuff, and I don't know, it helps us
I think you have to lose to win.
Yeah.
In life, period.
Well, if you're not trying, how are you?
I've never met a successful person that had it easy. You know, like
Yes,
they've
sir.
had to deal with a lot of crap, and they lost a lot.
Absolutely.
To get where that, and everyone's definition of success is different, but every person in their mind that I've met that they feel successful has lost a lot.
Yeah,
So,
well, I mean, you look at any kind of business, any, like you said, just success in general, but like, you think about like these corporation owners and things like that, a lot of those people have made investments into other things that were not as lucrative or not as successful for them, and you don't see any of that stuff. You only see them winning and whatever, the highlight reel, basically. And with jiu-jitsu, it's very similar. Like when you get to see these people make it to television and stuff like that, or they're like a big name for like a sporting event or like a competition type thing, you don't see them coming up through the ranks at blue belt, purple belt, you know, getting stomped
choked
on.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, you know.
you just see the champion.
Exactly. It's real easy to forget about the work and the effort that went into getting to that point. So I know it's real easy for when I was coming up, when I was white and blue belt. For me,
And for those that don't know, brown belt. White belt.
got that poo-poo voodoo. For me, it was easy to see those black belts as like invincible at like white and blue belt. You don't see them as like getting smashed, and you don't see them as white belts at one point. You just want to be where they're at, and you don't realize that you are. That's exactly where you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be getting smashed. You're supposed to be getting tapped out, and that's where you learn. That's where you learn to fix those mistakes.
I feel like people, you know, because I've been doing jiu-jitsu for about a little over a year now, the ones that do stick around are the ones that kind of get that mentality.
Yes, sir.
Every day, you know, they leave and they're like, well, I know Nick or Bryan, they've been there before, so I got to be doing something right.
Exactly.
You know, because there are times where you do leave the gym and you're like, damn, what just happened? Like, I just got demolished. And you're like, you question yourself, am I getting better? Am I doing the right things? And the answer is yes, you are. You just got to keep going.
Absolutely. And that's hard. That's a very hard thing. It's crazy how you can do that with other aspects of your life, but for some reason, like a physical activity or a hobby like this, it's real easy to shy away from it. Whereas like you go to work and you have a bad day. Like for whatever reason, you missed a phone call, you forgot an email, whatever the case may be, whatever your duties are at work, you're behind with it. You're not doing as well as you know you should be doing. You still go to work the next day. You know, like for those people that go to the gym and like lift weights, they go in and for whatever reason they're tired, they're hungry, they're thirsty. they don't lift the way that they're supposed to, and they feel beat up about it when they walk out of the gym. Like, I'm better than that, but they still go back. But you know what I'm saying? Like, but for some reason with jiu-jitsu, I think people see like their black belts or whatever doing really well in their rounds, and they don't do that, and they're like, well, I'm just not getting better. I'm not progressing. I'm not whatever. And that's not the case at all. You're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. You know, you're showing up. You're putting in the effort and the energy. You're gonna reap rewards from that. And whether it be the way that you think it should be or not, is regardless.
I think it's also the way jiu-jitsu helps outside, like like you said earlier, but the way it helps with that job, with going to the gym, all those things. Because one thing I've learned in jiu-jitsu is sometimes I don't want to come. Sometimes I'm like, man, I just got off of work. I don't want to go to the gym. But then I go. And those are the days when I leave the gym, I'm like, man, this is why I go. Because it's the greatest feeling.
Oh, yeah.
It's the greatest feeling when you leave. Because you put your heart out there, man. Like, you get that workout. It's the best workout on earth to me.
It's a fight.
I like the gym. Yeah. No, don't get me wrong, like, I love the gym. I love running.
Yeah.
Just something different about rolling with someone. And just giving your all. You know, you got 5 minutes left. You've been rolling for 30 minutes straight. And you're dead, but so is the other guy.
Yeah.
You're both dead.
Yeah. And that's
and
that
then you
moment.
adapt.
Yeah, and that's that moment where you grow, because you're tired, they're tired, everybody wants to go home. You can see it on everybody's face. We're all exhausted. We all had a day.
Yep.
And you still slap bump and you get after it with that person. That's where you grow. I talk about it. I was actually talking to Jake. We were doing some rounds the other day, and I was like, this is where you build that. This is where that cardio comes from. This is where that heart gets built, right here. When you're tired, when you're exhausted, when you don't want to do that round, but you do it anyways, that's where that comes from. And that's any job. That's anything that you do.
It makes it that much easier outside of here
to
do the things you don't want to do. Does that make sense?
Yes.
When you're getting up and you don't want to get up at 6 a.m. and go to that job. When you're in jiu-jitsu, that becomes that much more easier to do that.
Yes, sir. Well, so kind of talking about that. So going to AGF yesterday, it was in Biloxi. So to save money, I just drive in the morning to get there. So whenever we go to tournaments, if it's 4 hours away, if the tournament starts at 8, you're leaving at 4 a.m. And that doesn't mean that I'm not doing class Friday night. That doesn't mean that we don't still have class Saturday morning. Like, we still have to adapt and figure out how to run that stuff. But just that discipline. To me, getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to that tournament is easy. It's far easier than getting leg locked by Ruben, or like having Nick grab a hold of my neck, or having Chance and Mount. It's like a 4-hour drive is just scenic. It's just looking at some trees and putting on the radio and
drinking
whatever
some
else.
coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
It's not necessarily the most fun thing in the world to do, but is it easier than getting crushed by Hanshi? Absolutely. All day, every day, I can get in the truck and drive forever. I don't know. It does. It really does. I think that it turns your perspective around on the way that you see life. I think Fight Club did it.
It's hard to explain that to people that don't know jiu-jitsu,
Absolutely.
And I get questions all the time about it, and I always get the same answers. Well, I don't have time. I can't afford it. Those are the two big ones. And I have to tame myself sometimes, because I don't know if you want to get into that a little bit, but just because, there's so many, if you put the pros and cons next to each other when you join a jiu-jitsu gym, the cons are always going to be money and time.
Yes, sir.
If you can cut back on certain things, there's your money problem, because we all can cut back on stuff.
Yeah.
And for the time thing, I think that's yourself putting your walls up, trying to stop yourself from going in. I think time is one of the biggest excuses to me. Mm-hmm. I hate putting it like that, excuses, but it is. It's an excuse.
So, my grandmother used to talk to me about this all the time, but you have no time. You have no problem making time for things that are important to you. Mm-hmm. That always happens. If something's important to you, you'll do it.
That's a great way to put it, actually.
It was simple. Like, if so her thing was like the yard work and stuff like that. But she always had time for yard work. Now, maybe she didn't have time to send that email or do this other thing or whatever, but it was easy for her because she loved that thing. When you learn to love the things, whether you like them or not, you love it, like jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
I love jiu-jitsu. Now, whether I like it or not, sometimes, a lot of times, I don't want to be here. I don't want to roll. I'm tired. My ear hurts. My neck hurts. My shoulder hurts. Whatever the case is, and you don't want to be here, but you make time for it and you grow through that. You that stuff makes you better.
It does, 100%.
And there was something else I was going to go through with that, as far as like, the money issue as well.
Yeah.
So, jiu-jitsu is expensive. I'm glad you talked about that, because I was
It's
going
an
to say,
expense.
again, you tend to have money for the things that you want to do. I remember when I was younger, I would complain about not having money, but I always was at the bar. I always had a pack of cigarettes. I always, like these little things, and you don't realize
That
how
brings
you
something I want to get into in a minute. I'm glad you brought that up. We'll get there.
But I noticed that I always had money for that stuff, but then when it was time to pay bills or it was time to whatever, it was like, oh man, I'm short. When you had money and you had time for the things, that time I spent at the bar was time I could have been in bed, or I could have been making myself better, and then getting up early and hustling up some extra work, hustling up some whatever. Again, you have the time and you have the money for the things you want. Let jiu-jitsu, or let self-improvement, more importantly, be the thing that you take note of and that you really like push yourself towards. For me personally, I would recommend that. But
I mean, it's one of those things where you don't want to be 80 years old and be like, man, what would have happened if I went through those doors?
yeah,
If I went to that gym and just learned that skill, We got a limited amount of time here, and you just got to make the best of it. And I think jiu-jitsu is one of those skills that I wish everyone could learn. It's like almost to the point where it should be a requirement in life to go through.
I think it absolutely should be a requirement. Sorry, excuse me. So I was looking at like some of the stuff in the Middle East where jiu-jitsu is a part of their like curriculums for schools and stuff like that. It's like one of their PE type of activities. Places where they look at jiu-jitsu as a sport where everybody can be involved in it. It's, in my opinion, as far as like a control method, like there's nothing can beat it.
I think it would create more peace than anything.
Absolutely.
If you're driving down the road and someone cuts you off and you're like, oh man, I'm going to rage on this person, or vice versa, you're going to be a lot more careful if everyone in the world knows jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because, maybe he might tap me out.
Well, just in general. So I've noticed that my patience, since I've been in jiu-jitsu, like my patience and my understanding of consequence.
Do you have patience?
Not like I should.
Or did you hear the beep?
I heard the beep.
I don't know. Is it your phone or anything?
It could be the Roomba.
Oh, yeah.
It might be the Roomba over there.
Damn that Roomba.
But I was saying, as far as patience and stuff, yeah.
Oh, patience, yeah.
So I did not have much. Again, just being a young man, I didn't feel like I was a very patient person. So as you get older, I do believe you just develop patience. But with jiu-jitsu especially, you have to. Because when you have a good position, and again, just the way that life and jiu-jitsu kind of correlate for me, when you have something good going on, it's okay to just enjoy that, to just take a break and breathe with it. That you don't have to immediately jump to something better. There doesn't need to be something better right then, right there. That it's okay to just enjoy what you have at the time and then try to advance. It doesn't have to be immediately. It doesn't have to be.
No, yeah, I agree 100% with that.
But when you can enjoy those things and then look to do better anyways, I don't know, it just makes life better. It makes life easier.
Well, coming from somebody that I effed off a lot, in my younger 20s and 30s, and I think that personality trait, being enlisted in the military, kind of goes with the territory. Knucklehead teenager, like, I'm not going to college, so might as well join the military.
Yeah.
And then, and this is one thing I found out, it's a little before jiu-jitsu came into my life, though, was when I decided to make the change to better myself. See, some of these kids, they have that where they're already building themselves. Mm-hmm. Me, not so much. It took me a long time to figure that out. In my mid-30s, Mm-hmm. But once I did, I noticed a lot of things. I noticed, my circle got a lot smaller, big time. Like people that you thought were your friends, they kind of dip out on you once you start getting your stuff together. You
Yes,
know?
sir.
They really do.
Misery loves company.
I mean, the relationship I had at the time, everything just started exiting my life.
Yes.
For the best. I mean, at the time I was like, oh man, everyone's leaving me. I thought it was supposed to be getting better.
Bro, it kills you.
It does. I mean, at that time, I think it was like 37, 38. I literally lost my job. I was borderline homeless, my relationship, everything. My dad passed away. All this was going on when I decided to better myself. I quit the smoking, really cut back on the drinking, because I like to drink every now and then. But then I worked out really hard, and I was doing all these things that you're supposed to do to be better. And boom.
Still, you feel like you're losing things. You feel like things are...
But the outcome.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I was consistent with it. Then I walked into the jiu-jitsu gym. All the things just gradually started getting better and better and better. And before you know it, these little things just keep getting better and better and better. And it's not over. And it will never be over.
Right.
And that's the beautiful thing about jiu-jitsu is you have to think of it as like, you're never going to get that black belt. You just keep showing up.
Right.
Stop worrying about the belt.
If more people have that mindset, the belts just hold your gi closed. So when you see people go to the gym or you see like wrestlers, there's no belt system for wrestlers. They just show up and do it. And it's just to be better. That's the whole thing. I think the belt system it doesn't take away from what we're doing, but it definitely, it has hindrances for certain people. I think with the kids, it's important to like show them that they're advancing and progressing and doing better.
Incentives.
Yeah, incentives.
Yeah, I get it.
Absolutely. But for like a lot of the adults and like a hobbyist, so I don't particularly care about competing or anything like that. So for me, I'm just in here to do better than I did yesterday, to be a better Bryan East than the one that walked in the doors. You know, when I walk out, I really do. I hope that I'm better. You know, and just because I showed up, I feel like I am. When I walk out,
I think that's a great mentality because I think the kids see that too.
I hope so.
And they see you doing that. It's a great example for those kids, and it shows in their competitions, man.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I just thinking about the competition stuff, man. So I was so impressed with those kids yesterday, honestly. And all of them, the kids that we've got up here are just doing really, really well. They're just, I think we've got a great group of people. I think we have good energy going, and I really would like to see it continue. But I was just so impressed yesterday. Good wrestling, great control when they were.
For those that don't know, tell them how old these kids are.
8, 7, and 5. They are complete animals.
And every time they don't ever cease to amaze everybody around them.
Yeah.
And every competition, the pressure that those kids can handle.
It means nothing. So to them, they don't. If they wear it, they have the best poker face. But you'll see them. It's just a part of their life. And it's crazy to me because competition is such a nerve-wracking, like mind-numbing experience. It just makes me physically ill. Like I just.
When you're talking about like if you step onto the mats in front of people, or
yes, like to go.
Or the idea in general.
All of it. Like signing up for tournaments makes me nervous. Like it makes me uncomfortable. But again, they've tested themselves so many times already. They've gone and competed so many times that none of it seems to faze them at all because it's just a part of it. It's just what they do.
You just don't see many kids that handle pressure like as well as that little group of kids right there. Like I was blown away when I saw them.
I really do think that that's something that's attainable for any person. That you have to get out there. You have to test yourself. And whether that be here or for them, it's out competing, whatever that thing is that pushes you past that scary point, past that barrier. Because for me, shoot, you guys see it. Like when we talk about going into live rounds or we talk about doing situational or positional training and stuff like that, I usually have to take off and use the restroom. That's me being nervous. That's me being uncomfortable and anxious, because you just don't know what's going to happen in that round. Yeah. You don't know if somebody's going to be silly and accidentally grab you the wrong way and possibly injure you. And it makes me nervous. It makes me very, very that's twice a day, Monday through Friday. That's me pushing past that barrier.
That's your life.
find that thing that makes you uncomfortable and push past it. And for them, the camera went off.
I don't know. Did it?
So when I heard the beep, I thought,
Was that the camera? Oh no. It was the camera. Was that the camera that went off? That beep?
I heard the
might
beep
have
and I
been.
looked thinking it was the Roomba.
Sorry, I'm gonna switch the battery out.
No, you're super good.
I wonder.
Okay, cool.
All right.
So
we're back.
One of the other things I wanted to talk about was jiu-jitsu here in Lake Charles. I think that we have outstanding schools
All right.
in the area. One of the things that Nick and I wanted to do, and Brian Hanchy as well, was when we opened up a place, we wanted to make sure that we didn't do politics. So I have no fear of talking about Gracie Baja. I have no fear of talking about Lake Area. I like those people. I feel like we can compete and not have contempt. There's nothing about those folks that I dislike. I do things slightly different than they do.
You've had the luxury of training at all of them, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
When I started off, I found Lake Area before anybody that's been doing jiu-jitsu in Lake Charles for a while, for close to 10 years or so, Lake Area was the place. They were the only place. So we all trained over there. If you've been training for a while, and then I trained in Sulphur at Olympic, and I very much enjoyed it. I also got to train at Gracie Baja for about a year or so, and I enjoyed it. They have phenomenal training partners and a great system set up. But when we opened this place up, our goal was to try to take the things that we liked about those places and try to bring the good stuff from all of it. Because everybody's got their own style. Everybody's got their own systems and their own ways of training and teaching. And we wanted to take the best of what we saw there and try to bring that here. That was our goal. Not that there was anything bad, but just there's things that they do better at certain things. So our goal was to take those aspects and hopefully bring them here and kind of tie it all together. I think that for us, again, like you said, money is a huge issue.
It is.
For jiu-jitsu. It's a gym membership, and it's a lofty gym membership. For us, it's about $100 a month. There's not many people that aren't going to get a discount and get to $100. I think we had initially talked about doing like $130 a month, and I felt like I could do better. That we could survive if members only paid $100 a month. So as far as I know, I think everybody is paying no more than $100 a month for memberships. We don't make people buy our gis. We don't make people buy our rash guards or shorts. I remember when I started, I didn't have money for any of that. I was a new dad, a single father, and I was struggling. I was big struggling for money. So I was very lucky. The school that I started at, they didn't make me do any of that stuff. That was never a requirement. I didn't have to buy.
I think that's a great requirement. To not have a requirement.
Yeah. As much as I see, again, with the Marine Corps, we look cool because we're all very uniform. With the Coast Guard, you guys look, it's easy to tell who's in the Coast Guard.
We look the best.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
The devil ducks. For me, I wanted to be as inclusive as possible. I feel like that was a big priority that I wanted to try to meet, was that I wanted to allow as many people as possible to get into jiu-jitsu. And the less requirements you had on people, the less you tried to charge people, the easier it would be to be inclusive for folks. So our training methods, we focus on like a takedown. We focus on a technique based on whatever position we're working for that week. And then we do positional training, and we also add live training in as well. Because I feel like for you and I to roll, like I have a substantial size advantage, I feel like, as far as weight and things like that. And then my skill level, it would be very hard for you to probably like organically just grab me and take my back and get behind me and put me in a position where like.
That's a nice way of putting it. But I don't think I can do that to you.
Oh, absolutely, you could. I have 100%
At someday maybe.
Well,
but at the moment, not happening.
I'm waiting on it. I want you to know that I plan on you doing that to me every time we roll.
day.
But when you do positional training, you get to put yourself in those positions where like you get to take my back and then I have to be defensive with you. And then I can kind of give you pointers on what you did right or did wrong. And then I look for pointers as well. Like, hey man, you had great control when you did X, Y, Z. You should keep doing that. Well, perfect. Then that's absolutely what I'm going to do. But then when you add in the live training with that positional sparring, you get to see how do you do that organically? How do I create these dilemmas for you where I get to take your back or I get to put you in mount or whatever the position you feel most dominant in? Like, how do I get to that point from standing?
So many people are afraid of that moment. And I think that's one of the things I mean, you know, fear is, I think that's what holds people back is fear most of the time to walk through the gym doors. But you need fear. In order to have growth, you have to face fear. Dude, our life revolves around fear.
Yeah. Every day. Which is
Anyone that tells you they're not afraid is lying or a psychopath.
Psycho. I was going to say, because there are. I've met people out there that are like, man, I ain't scared of nothing. And they're not. But they're dangerous people that you probably...
Or they're just lying too.
Or they're just
that could be
lying,
it too, you know? And
well, you find out pretty quickly who's lying and who's not.
But it's that risk-reward thing. Like, once you face that fear, man, sky's the limit.
Absolutely.
And then you're like, damn, what else can I do that's scary? You
Absolutely.
know?
Absolutely. And that's where you see like those adrenaline junkie crazy people kind of like build up and whatever. But with this, to me, there's not as much, the consequence is not nearly as severe, I think, as people might think that it is. Because again, at any point in time, I can tap and just stop. It's my ego that keeps me involved in that crazy stuff. Like,
how long can I wait before I tap?
you know, and you don't have to with this. So I think especially for more mature people, the fear that they have, you can negate that almost instantly. At any point in time, you can stop that round and just reset to a normal, neutral position where you're comfortable again. For younger people who aren't afraid, they come in here and you see them do crazy stuff, and like you just very, very politely, like, hey, you know, you can take it down a notch. You don't have to move as much. You don't have to do as much, and you can kind of relax. It
depends on the person. I mean, I you know, when Drew comes up in here, I'm like, oh.
Tasmanian devil, bro.
Here we go. And see, even Jake, I'm like, oh, here we go. But if it helps them get better to where they need to be, because I mean, I'm never gonna be in the UFC. I'm never gonna. I'm not saying never say never, but I'm realistic when it comes to that.
Yeah.
But if I can help these guys, I didn't have that kind of help coming up. I don't know if you did or didn't, but these guys, when they come in here and they start dominating you, like, it makes me happy for them because they are taking it to that level. And the fact to be that young and have that discipline and show up and possibly get their asses whooped, you know? And they do.
They do.
But it's just it's a good feeling to see how good they're getting and to be a part of that.
So as a gym owner, that changed dramatically for me. I remember as a member of another gym, losing rounds kind of checked my ego, and it didn't feel good for me. It made me want to fight harder and do more and learn more, which I still get those feelings. But now, not that y'all are my students, we're all here together working, but for a lot of y'all, like, I'm teaching you how to do these techniques. When you do that to me and I showed you how to do it, like, that's massively rewarding for me. I mean, that's watching your kids walk. That's man. It's I don't want to make it like overblown or like
no, that you're not, because that's exactly what it is. And to be here when you teach those things, and then I see like the young guys like Jake or Drew, and they're doing it so fluidly, I'm like, man. I think, what did I say to you the other day? We were rolling, and you had me in this. I was like, man, I got to come to class more. And you're like, you stopped choking me or whatever you're doing to me, and you're like, yes, you do. And then we go back to it. It's those moments that are like, yeah, man, I'll be here. I'm coming back.
To me, it's crazy because like I'll show something and I'll see you improve on it, or I'll see Julian or something. Like I show him something, and then he does it better than what I show. Like his version of it is better than what I would do, and it just blows me away. It's amazing because for me that thing is successful, but to watch them do it, they made it even better. You know, so like this thing that already works, this key that opens that door. Just knock it off the hinges. Like and that's an amazing, extremely rewarding feeling. I can't think of much that really like rivals that for me. It's amazing.
That's what jiu-jitsu is, a bunch of small moving parts that you got to figure out how to put together.
Yes, sir.
To get that one big piece. Like, you know, the arm bars, the big spectrum of things.
Yes, sir.
But if you don't know all those little moving pieces to get that arm bar, you're never going to get it. Well, like keeping your heads off the mat. Like those little things that you have to constantly do. And every time you say that in class, I'm like, shit, did I do that? Was that me? And then, so I'm always finding myself, keep your head up. But it works.
So it's not just you, it's everybody. I do it too. We all have a tendency to do it, to get
lazy.
To get lazy.
Boom.
Well, something we said all the time in the Marine Corps was complacency kills. It's never the enemy, it's you. You killed you.
That works in real life.
Jiu-jitsu works in real life.
Yes.
The moving part thing. So I talk about this with Blythe all the time. Like if I want to do an arm bar, I need to have my leg across your face. I'd like to have something pinning your shoulders to the floor. I'd like to have both my arms controlling your one arm. Mm-hmm. But if you want to pass a test, you have to go to school. You have to get the lessons. You have to pay attention while she's teaching. You have to come home and you have to do the homework. You have to study. Once you've done that homework, go back over it 2 or 3 times. And then when you go to school, then you take that's the big picture thing. And that's the application of it. Like if you want to, that's how I get to correlate jiu-jitsu to life, is that these concepts apply everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah. And if you're able to see it that way, you can see it in everything. That it's effort and energy. What are you putting effort and energy into? When I come to jiu-jitsu, it's not to make me a killer. It's like for you, like you're saying, you don't plan on being in the UFC. I don't plan on being in the UFC either. I could care less.
Yeah.
I don't even want to compete.
I know.
But what I do want to do is be a better Bryan East.
Yep.
Every single day, I want to be better than the man that woke up. You know, like when I put my head down at night, did I do enough to feel like I earned it?
Yep.
You know,
I think jiu-jitsu molds you into that too, and
it should.
Yeah, I know, but there's a reason why we call the black belts professors, because it's constant change. You're constantly learning, and you're never ever going to be the master.
Yeah.
Of jiu-jitsu. Like it's a constant cycle of learning.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so great.
Man, speaking of masters, this is just some side bit stuff, but like, man, that weirds me out. The titles and the things like that. I don't, not to be weird, but I don't call it Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. When you look at our shirts, when you look at the walls, we're
Jiu-Jitsu.
Just Jiu-Jitsu. There's nothing wrong with just being Jiu-Jitsu. There's no need for all the, in my opinion, there's no need for the extra. You don't have to, like, this is good enough. Jiu-Jitsu is perfect the way that it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, so the master thing. Mm-hmm. I think at some point through the ranks, they, like if you get a red belt or something, but you go to other martial arts and they have like master Ken or master whatever. And I don't enjoy all that stuff. I think that
Sifu.
I have no problem with like titles necessarily, because it does separate. Like,
there's a respect element too. I think that's what they were designed for initially. Absolutely. But some people just take those outside of the mats.
You let the lanyap take control.
Yeah.
That's all that is. That's the lanyap. It's not important.
On the other side of that, though, when you do meet, like say you're out and about, just at grocery shopping, or for in my case it'd be a job. But when I meet someone that practices jiu-jitsu, it's kind of like there's that unspoken connection. Like he gets it, I get it.
Yeah.
And then there's that follow-up question, like, what belt are you?
Where you train at, bro?
Yeah, because where do you train at, bro? There's always that element, but it's a different conversation that you have versus just meeting someone who's never trained before. You just go on with your normal life, but there's that unspoken bond between everyone.
Instantly.
Yeah.
So I think jiu-jitsu builds camaraderie the way that the military does. And I had somebody kind of explain it to me. It's the blood, it's the sweat, it's the effort and the energy that you put into this with someone else. Again, like the thing that makes jiu-jitsu different than like going to the gym or doing any other physical activity is you rely on a partner as well. Like the people that are up here are going to help you grow and build yourself.
Oh, without a doubt.
So who you surround yourself, like jiu-jitsu is a metaphor for life, and who you surround yourself with is who you become. So who's feeding you?
That's why it is important to pick your gym.
Yeah. Yeah. Good energy is important. You want to be with people that are going to build you up, that are going to help you grow to that next level and be the better version of you that you want to be. Whether that be just a more fit person, more in shape person, somebody that's, able to play ball with their kids in the next 10, 15 years. That's the kind of folks you want to be around. You don't, ideally, you're not around people that are dragging you down and making life more difficult for you. You shouldn't be with a group that's hurting people.
That goes back to what I said earlier. It's up to you to make that change. And once you do make that change, people will leave you.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of them too. And they will walk out of your life, and that's a good thing though, because those people were the ones. Misery loves company. They were bringing you down, man.
Yes, sir.
And you don't even notice it while you're making that change. You're thinking, oh, I'm going to get better. Everyone's going to love me now. No.
Well, like I said, when I was younger, I made time for the bar and stuff like that. And those people that you make time for the bar with, they want to make time for the bar, or they have time for the bar, And then when you stop having as much time for the bar, like, I'm tired, bro. I just got choked out. Like, for the last 30 minutes, I've been getting whooped on. Man, I don't have the energy to invest in the bar right now. I invested all the energy I had. I invested more energy than I had to jiu-jitsu. Like, I'm done with that. And they won't understand that. They won't enjoy that.
And it's no fault of their own. No. Like, they're living their life the way they choose to, and if it makes them happy, cool. But for me personally, to better myself, I can't be around a lot of that, Even though I want to be. Sometimes I want to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's just not going to help. And I know that, and that like that lifestyle isn't putting me where I want to be, isn't getting me to that next step or that next rung that I'm looking to go to. If my goal was to be broke and miserable and then I would go sit in a smoky bar till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning again. I just I don't always. And there's nothing wrong with going and doing that occasionally, but it becomes very repetitive. Just
don't make it a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Well, and again, if that's the life you want, there's nothing against that. Like, it's your decision. You're in charge of your own life.
Yeah. And everybody's on their own calendar. That was something I've got some excellent friends that I keep in touch with from the Marine Corps. A gentleman named Mike DeVoe, who runs Mike DeVoe Designs. He does all of our graphic work and stuff like that. And then a buddy of mine, Chris Griffin, who runs Chopping Block Soap Company. Also a great company. You should go check them out. They're fantastic. We went and hiked the Appalachian Trail. And so I haven't hiked since I was in the Marine Corps. But one of the things that we constantly talked about was like running your own race. Like my buddy running the soap company. Like, he's doing very well, but he still works. He still does some other stuff. He's not able to just do the soap company yet. At some point, I think it would be great if he was able to do that, but that's not where he's at right now. That's something he's looking to do, I think, eventually. And same thing with my buddy DeVoe. He still works for another company, and he still does his own thing. I think at some point he'll eventually try to drop off of working for other people and doing it himself, but like, he's on his schedule. But we correlated this to the trail. Like, as we're walking, like, you're running your own race. Like, Griffin had a much longer stride than I did, and he was way out ahead of me. So there would be hours at a time where I wouldn't see either of them. Where, like, we're just wandering down these trails.
I want to do that someday.
It was a blast, man. I fell in love with that concept, the running your own race, and that I didn't need to keep up with them, that I didn't need to drop back and try to find anybody or try to run up to catch anybody.
Yeah.
I was content, and we would meet there at some point. We all knew where we were going. As long as you stay on this trail, we will all get to this one specific spot, and we all knew we were going to stop there. That's where we wanted to be, and however we got there was fine, but we were going to get there. That's
jiu-jitsu.
That's, but that's life. That's the trail. That's jobs. That's jiu-jitsu. That's everything. You know, you can run your own race. You can, if it doesn't happen in the time frame you want, doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. It doesn't mean that you're a failure. It's okay. If you have a goal in mind and you don't make it, that loss shouldn't beat you. I pray that loss doesn't beat you. For me, with opening this gym, bro, I took all the L's. It hurt a lot of times. The money I thought would be there wasn't there. The people I thought that were going to help didn't help. The things I thought I was going to be able to do, I couldn't. Nobody knows about that stuff. You don't see those things that I lost on. You just come in, you slap bump, and you roll. And you have a good time at this facility that we created. That doesn't change the L's that I took because I had those goals in mind. I didn't let it beat me, though. We still open doors. We still have training. We still have all the stuff I needed. It just, all the stuff I wanted didn't happen. And nobody knows.
Yeah.
But I could have let that beat me.
You could have.
I could have easily turned around and been like, man, this didn't work out, and I didn't.
But jiu-jitsu has probably played a huge part in a lot of the reasons why you opened the doors to begin with.
Yes, sir.
And you probably handled those L's pretty well.
I tried. I tried as best I could. I wouldn't
Better than most.
Yeah. Candace would probably tell you guys a couple of interesting stories about it. But we, man, it whooped me. It was tough. But again, same thing with jiu-jitsu, same thing with everything else. Like when you go to your job and you didn't have a good day, or you had goals set and you just didn't reach them, you know? It doesn't stop you from going back to work. It doesn't stop you from going to the gym. You just adjust fire.
Another one too, not to cut you off here. I think another one that hinders people is age from jiu-jitsu. When they go in through the doors.
That's crazy. You're absolutely correct.
But that's another big one. I'm too old for that. I've heard that before. That one bothers me.
So when did you start jiu-jitsu?
At 40.
40.
I'm 41 now.
My dude.
And it wasn't easy to walk through those doors.
Hell no.
A bunch of young. I mean, let's be honest. Most of the guys in jiu-jitsu are young bucks, man.
Well, again, those are the fearless ones.
Yeah.
They don't understand the consequence. They don't.
Not saying it's easier for them, because it's always going to be hard to walk through. But when you're an older person and you walk through the jiu-jitsu doors, you're scared. Everything in you is telling you not to go in.
Absolutely. You understand consequence too. Like, oh man, what if one of these young bucks, they drop me on my head and I can't go to work tomorrow, and I can't pay my bills tomorrow, and now my kids are homeless, and now they ain't got no food to eat. Like, we understand as older people, we understand consequence a lot better. I think that's one of the things with the young folks. There isn't as much consequence. If you live with mom and dad, if you don't have a lot of bills, like if you don't go to work, or you don't have a job that's, if you have a more accessible job, like an entry-level position job, you can find another job. So the consequences don't seem probably as dire. So it's much easier for a younger person, I think, to get involved with this. Whereas like I was 30 at the time, and I had a daughter, and you were 40, you have responsibility. Yeah. So like you've got all these things going on. That becomes a very serious, very real consequence for you. Like if something bad was to happen, what am I going to do about that?
Injuries do happen.
Yeah.
But
what do you think is probably one of the biggest fears? I mean, as far as like being an older person coming into jiu-jitsu.
Now?
Yeah. Like,
nothing. Like it's a part of life now. And
Yeah.
And having a partner that understands that, that's a help. If you have a partner that helps with, okay, it's jiu-jitsu night, he's going, like there's no,
yes, sir.
It's part of our life now. If you can get your partner to understand that, you're golden. That's number one. Number two, being my age and walking into the gym, the biggest fear, I don't even know what the biggest fear was, man. It was probably the injury and just being shown up by a bunch of youngsters. Because I've always had a pretty good work ethic. But yeah, it's getting that ego check because, before that, I always thought I could handle my own.
Yeah.
But
Isn't
no,
that scary?
That's scary. I'm surprised I made it this far.
I love telling people the story about like my first. So I had tried jiu-jitsu at like mid-20s when I got out of the Marine Corps. I joined up with Lake Area again, or not again, but I joined up with Lake Area. I'd done classes for very on and off. I was very lucky. I was broke, and I think at the time Mike Ellender would just let me pay him cash. Like, oh, you got money this month? Cool. There. And like, man, he was excellent. He was awesome. But I wasn't motivated about jiu-jitsu. I was struggling with college. So whenever I did end up going back to jiu-jitsu in my 30s, I think I had just turned 30. My daughter was born. I didn't know what to expect, but I knew that I did well with jiu-jitsu whenever I was in my mid-20s. I assumed I could handle myself. I'd be able to so I ended up rolling with a young lady. She had a shorter haircut. I thought she was like a teenager.
She was about to get checked, huh?
Bro, she guillotined. I tried to do a shot basically on her, like a tackle type of thing, not knowing what I was really doing. And she grabbed the guillotine on me and it popped my neck. And this girl couldn't have weighed more than like $1.15 if she ate a hamburger on the way there. And bro, she instantly checked me. And it probably was, again, like not knowing what you're doing. You do what you know as hard as you can. Because you're like, well, I'm going to put effort, energy into this. And you do it in a not constructive way. So I probably charged at her in a very dangerous, unsafe way. And she just like, hey, to stop that here. And I didn't realize that I was in a bad position until she really emphasized it for me. But that was that moment that like, I can't ever let this happen again. And you can either walk out the doors and never go into a gym again, or you can continue to go and learn and grow. And now I got to a point where I could roll safely, roll fun with that young lady. We would have excellent rounds, and I would grow from our training sessions, and she would grow as well. But it got to that point because I continued to go, because I put that effort and energy into it. But yeah, the thing I was afraid of, it absolutely happened like that first day. Like it scared the hell out of me. Like getting your neck popped. No, nothing serious happened. It was fine. Bones pop.
Yep. You don't want it to happen again. And that's...
So, but you have to go back. You have to keep doing it. You can't one of the things that I talk to the kids about, especially with like jiu-jitsu, is it's counterintuitive to what your body wants you to do. So like when somebody takes your back, when you go to escape, a lot of times they turn away from them and run. You are not getting away from somebody because you don't see them anymore. That's not how that works. No. So if they're within arm's reach and you turn around, they're right back on your back. All that work that you did, meant absolutely nothing. You went right back to that bad situation. And you can correlate that to everything in life. But with this, if you face your fear and you walk through those doors and you put effort into growing in jiu-jitsu, and then you spend a month here and then you let something beat you and you don't come back, I feel like you really lose something. I feel like I don't know. It hurts me. It bothers me. Not
sad.
Yeah,
it is.
In a sad way. Not like in an angry, I'm not mad that you're not coming to jiu-jitsu anymore.
No, yeah.
I'm upset that you let something beat you, because for the last month or so, I got to work with you and see you grow and develop, and I see changes happening, and I see you become more confident, not just in your skills, but like as a person. When you know that you can handle yourself, you get a confidence.
Nobody can take it from you either.
There's not money, there's not anything in this world that gives you assuredness, like knowing you could choke somebody. Like if things got hairy and we absolutely had to do this, I practice twice a day. I practice 5 days a week, Monday through Friday.
Your odds are looking pretty good.
Yeah, that confidence, you can't put a price tag on that. And if you give that to children, bro, I mean, what? So that's what I think about the most when I think about like those the Dubar Death Squad kids. Man. They the confidence that when they walk into a tournament, they don't blink. They're
never gonna lose that either. It's just instilled. They're kids. So when they're our age, imagine.
Yeah, what are they gonna be? There's nothing they're not capable of. To me, if you can go out there and fight a kid bigger, stronger, more skilled, more experienced.
That's fear. That's scary.
That's horrifying.
If you can go out there and face that.
And then when you apply that to homework, when you apply that to tests, when you apply that to
the monster under the bed at night.
you know, what are you gonna be stopped by? You know, and man, those parents, dude, they are. I got to give it to them. They bust their butts to make sure those kids.
If only Chance could be as good as them. Just kidding, bro. I'm kidding, bro. As he mounts me every single time I roll with him.
Dude. And he, again, the dad, doing jujitsu with them. I think that's amazing.
That's amazing with the family.
So for me, again, when I was doing taekwondo and tang sudo as a kid, that was what me and my dad bonded over. That was what was special for us. Me and him didn't get along. We didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things. I think every guy kind of has a phase where they go through that with a parent, especially with their father, where you're like, I'm not you, bro. I'm not going to do the things you do. I'm not going to be that person. And you're not necessarily rebellious or defiant, but it's you kind of becoming your own man. But I remember we were very much, I was doing that with him, it seemed like most of my life. And then when we found martial arts at like 7, 8, whatever it was, and then kept going through it, man, it was a door that we could go through anytime we wanted to have a relationship.
Yep.
We could talk about that and it would bleed into other things that like, oh, well, if we like this, what about this person or this martial art, or did you see this UFC thing, or did you whatever? And so it made it easy for us to talk to one another and to like have that thing. And like, I know you've got Noah and Jake training, so like I'm not saying that y'all's relationship is anything like ours, but like to have just another door to like get into their life and talk to them about something.
No, it's
and
awesome.
That's amazing. And he has that with the Death Squad folks. He's got that. I see that with other parents as well. Like even the moms and dads that just come in here and sit and watch their kids train, they can talk to them about training. Hey, so that shrimpy whatever thing you're doing, or that the granny roll or whatever, you know, like they get to talk to their kids about it, and their kids get to get excited about those things. Like it. So for my daughter, she does dance and stuff like that. She likes doing some other stuff. She does jujitsu as well, but she's got other interests. She's rebellious and defiant, like all kids are gonna be. But if I go sit with her during dance or during gymnastics, and I talk to her about that stuff, I can see how motivated and excited she gets about that stuff. You're not going to dance yourself out of a lot of bad situations. You're not going to gymnastics yourself out of a lot of bad situations. So that's what I like about jiu-jitsu, is because I feel like it's a life skill. And if you can make your kids excited about this life skill that they're learning,
the kids, man,
there's just, I don't know. It opens a lot of opportunities and doorways.
Yeah, I feel bad for anybody who tries to do a kidnap attempt on the Dubar Death Squad, because they're barking up the wrong tree right there, man. And that's good to know as a parent, that those kids are most likely going to be safe in any situation when it comes to that. You know,
they're going to be a problem.
Yeah.
I would feel for any other kid that
and
thought
they're
they were going to
kids.
bully
They're little
them.
kids. When their teenage years come around and they go in adulthood, this is just a skill and a time in their life that they're going to reflect. It's going to define who they are when they're older.
I think some people have this idea and this mindset that your kid's going to be a bully, that it's going to be a Karate Kid situation, bro. You got a Johnny Lawrence out there running
It's the
around
reverse.
like...
The opposite happens for these kids, man.
It's crazy. It develops, like we talked about earlier, it develops a patience that they get to have throughout life, where like this is struggle. In here, when you're wrestling, that struggle. So when you
Lights are about to go out and you don't know what's going on, man. That's struggle.
They're elbow
You have
deep
no
in that
control of your physical vessel. You have no control over it. That's real fear.
Absolutely.
And that really is.
Yeah. And so when you can deal with that, when that doesn't cause you to break, when somebody says mean things to you at school, it's like, yeah, okay. Well, you're skinny, or you're fat, or you're ugly, or you're... It's like, yeah, probably. It's, you know, I got beat up pretty bad last night, whatever, you know.
That's all you're thinking about.
It's just, those things don't bother you as much. It's very, very easy to like, a great way to kind of not steal Fight Club's thunder, but like when you have violence in your life, when violence becomes like a normal, acceptable part of life, it's a language that you speak, everything else gets the volume turned down. Mm-hmm. Like all these other things, like it just doesn't mean as much. Like a phone call from a bill collector because you forgot to pay something doesn't fluster you at all. It's not like, yeah, I still have to go to work. I still have to do these things and whatever else. Like, it's not somebody climbing on my back that outweighs me by 75 pounds.
Yeah.
And again, like when that thing becomes a problem, that 75-pound weight advantage person on your back, you can tap and reset. Yep. So you still have like these safe points. It builds your confidence up.
You can sleep at night.
You know, you earned it. With the kids, with some of the training advantages and some of the things that add to it, like I hear a lot of people talk about bully-proofing their kids. And yes, it is a good way to bully-proof your kids, but they're still gonna have adversity. Mm-hmm. It's not that adversity goes away because your kid goes to jiu-jitsu. That's not how that works.
It's how they handle it.
Exactly. And are you giving them the skills to handle it properly? You know.
I think jiu-jitsu is that skill.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm not gonna say that Taekwondo isn't. I mean, I'm for all martial arts because I do think that discipline is instilled in all the martial arts. You know.
Yes, sir.
And again, it comes from the teacher, and I like to think of it as like every school is its personality of its instructor.
Oh,
that's
no.
Basically right. I mean, that's kind of what it is.
Yes, sir.
And you come out of that school, if your instructor is, you know, a bully I don't know how to explain that. If the instructor's intentions is to only win, then the students are going to come out of that school only winning.
Yes, sir.
Now, I'm not going to say any school names. That's just an example.
Yeah, I know.
But if your school is, the importance of that is teaching these kids to handle situations, and that's how those kids are going to come out, and especially if the instructor is very passionate about that happening. And I feel like we get that here at this school, across the board.
I'm glad.
So
I'm very glad. Nick's got that mentality. He very much, man, I went to a tournament with him one time. Bro, this will probably stick with me for the rest of my life, but it never changed him. Like winning and losing did not matter. Now he won. He beat everybody. They even threw him up. He was a purple belt at the time, and he got jumped up into the brown belt division. I probably told this story a million times. But he got jumped up into the brown belt division. I think it was Tim Crater putting it on. Shout out Tim Crater. Putting it on over in Lafayette. But they were like, hey, if you want to, you can get in with the brown belts as well. And he dominated all of them also. Nothing against him, just Nick's that dude. And every time it's just the thumbs up. It's just, I'm happy to be here. If he loses, it's the same thing. He's just maybe not the thumbs up, you know? Like wins and losses don't define who he is. The effort and energy he put into that tournament or that competition is what made him happy. It's what he wanted to do, you know? So like, I feel like he really encourages that there is no checkpoint. There is no finish line. There's no stop. There's just, you just put work into it. And it's good to set goals. Like for him, it's those tournaments or it's those competitions or whatever. And I think we're slowly starting to transition into our focus being more like us teaching. Like we go and learn or we go and look at things and we get excited about like new techniques that we see or new ways to improve the techniques that we're already showing or the techniques that we're already teaching or ways to implement that. Like for me personally, games, like I like the kids playing games. I like making it fun for them to find ways to do the things that we're doing better. So like wrestling was really important to me. I didn't wrestle when I was in school. So I don't really have a foundation in wrestling. So I've had to learn from Nick and then watching things and learning from other people around me how to wrestle. And then not just learning how to wrestle, but then learning how to teach that.
Teach it, yeah.
And then how do you make that fun? Not just teach it, but how do you make it an exciting, interesting thing that kids want to be a part of? That's been a challenge for me, but it's been a fun challenge for me. So my goal is again still to always better myself, but it's not to like win tournaments and get gold medals. My goal is to see your kids be better. It just so happens that gold medals come with your kids getting better. So,
And it's fun for them, the kids, you know, and it's they love it, man.
win, lose, draw. I mean, obviously, it's fun to win. It sucks to lose. But to go, the camaraderie those kids have out there, to watch them like circle the mat and just cheer their other friends on, like you see it, like whether they win or lose, the kids hug them and they're excited for them and they're like, bro, you would have had it if you'd done this or that, and like they're just happy for each other. They just love it, and they love seeing their friends win. They love seeing their people be successful. That's what every coach should feel like. So we were in Sulphur training, and then we came over here to kind of extend that checkmat handprint on Louisiana.
Yeah.
And I got to see some of those kids. So because we're not at the same school doesn't mean that I'm against you. Again, competition doesn't mean contempt. I have nothing against those kids. So watching them roll at the Grappling Industries in Lake Charles, dude, I was cheering them all. I was rooting for it. Like, and
that
they
place
know
was
that.
getting loud, man.
It was fun, and then they know our kids, some of our people, so they're rooting our kids on, and we're rooting them on, and like that's what it's supposed to be about. It's supposed to be this like you said, your circle. You know, like you want those people in your circle to be on your team, like.
Those people help you get better.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And that's the environment that we're trying to grow here. We want people to be here, but we want you to be successful. So if you need to go somewhere else to do that, that's fine too. You're not going to hurt my feelings. There's people that are supposed to be here, and they're here hopefully. And I hope those people that are supposed to be here, I hope they find this place, you know. And I'm okay with our people finding places that fit them better as well. I encourage and I support cross training. I don't just support cross training. I encourage cross training. I want you to go to other places. I want you to be safe. I don't believe that those gyms would be open if they were actively hurting people. If you're like putting bounties on the visitors and stuff like that, you're probably not going to have a very successful jiu-jitsu academy. So I'm just going to assume that most of the places that our people go to train, I'm assuming they're going to be safe, and I'm hoping that they learn something, that they grow every time they go out there. If you stay in a very homogenous place where we only train with each other, we don't go outside of these walls, there's no reason to. We need to be here growing our people and making sure that our people are taken care of. It's a hobby. It's just a hobby. It's just for a lot of us, it's just something that we do to better ourselves. You need to go outside of your doors. You need to go outside of your walls. We went on a vacation, and while we were there, we trained at another gym. We had a great time.
Was this in Vegas?
Yes, sir.
Where'd you go?
Syndicate.
Oh.
Syndicate. Man, shout out Shapiro brothers. Those dudes, man, I was surprised. I had heard about how good they were, but the moment the guy's not huge. Either of them. They're not like gigantic, big, strong, like muscular. I think I was substantially bigger than one of them. But I'm having trouble remember his name. I believe it's Jerry. I told him the entire round. I was just like, it's effortless. You're just beating the hell out of me effortlessly.
That's wild.
It blew my mind. He, at no point in time was he not in control. Even when he was on the bottom, I could tell he was just like timing me and letting me like play around. It was amazing. And it's not that I don't have experience. I've been doing this for 9+ years. That's not including, like, that's just consecutively since I started in my 30s. That's not doing jiu-jitsu with Lake Area when I got back. That's not doing jiu-jitsu in the Marine Corps, like McMap jiu-jitsu, but like learning those other things. That's just 9 years since I started like consecutively or consistently. It was crazy. You'd think I never did jiu-jitsu before. You'd think I had no clue what I was doing, the way he just like mopped the floor with me. The levels of jiu-jitsu go so deep. The skill levels just so that you never touch the bottom. And that's a guy in Vegas.
Yeah.
And there's a guy that taught that guy that can do it even better. And there's a guy that taught that guy. You know what I'm saying? And like when you start connecting those dots and that thing becomes real to you, it's, man, it allows you to grow and challenge yourself every day. There's never a point in time where you're done.
Yeah.
You know?
Man, That's crazy, bro.
But that's what makes this fun for me is there's never a stopping point. There's never a finish line. Like the way that Nick kind of looks at it, like there's always another goal that you can get to. There's never a point in time where you have to be like, well, that's it, I'm done, I beat the game.
No.
You never beat
happen.
the game. The game beats you every single day, every single time.
That's okay.
And that's a good thing.
It's a great thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, on that note, sir, what do you think?
I feel pretty good about it. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about? Was there anything?
Did we cover everything?
I feel like we talked about martial arts and military. I feel like we told people what we're going to plan on doing.
Yep.
All that good stuff. Hey, before we do take off, it's something that I did before, and it's something that I want to continue to do. If you struggle, so I know personally, I did not do well with like the depression, with anxiety. I didn't handle that stuff correctly when I was a young person. I know that was a big part of me, like kind of getting into some avenues that I didn't need to be on. Mm-hmm. So if you struggle with those things, I just need you to know you're loved, you're wanted. You don't have to struggle alone. Talk to people. There's tons of resources out there to get in touch with that can help you out. Don't allow yourself to fester on those things. Don't let that stuff beat you. It's okay to lose. Don't let it beat you.
I struggle with anxiety myself, so I can relate big time.
If you're out there and you think that you're by yourself in this, that you're the only one dealing with these things, that you aren't worth it, that you don't need love, you're sadly mistaken. And I hope that you hear this and it resonates with you and you get the help you need. Whether that be counseling, whether that be jiu-jitsu, whether that be jiu-jitsu and counseling, whether you go to the gym, whether you start picking up taekwondo or you go do your yard work.
I highly recommend martial arts. It has changed my anxiety and depression, and anyone that truly knows me will testify to that as well.
Man, I'm glad that
I don't think we never really talked about that, actually. So.
I don't think so.
Nobody really does. And it's a serious topic, man.
It's one of those, like, it's hard to talk about. So for me personally, not to get into some other stuff, but for me personally, like, man, depression just beat me. Like, I allowed it to beat me on a regular basis. And not that I'm over it, not that, like, I just, jiu-jitsu showed me that it's okay to lose sometimes, that I can feel like a loser, but I don't have to be a loser, you know? I did start doing
That was a great way of putting it, by the way.
Yes. So one of the things that really helped me too was I started doing counseling, and the counselor asked me, like, what do you trust about yourself? Because a lot of times, like, it's in our head, you know, like, I feel like a loser, and so I push that on other people. I tell them what a loser I am and how awful I am and how stupid the mistakes I made were and all this other stuff, and they don't get to see. They should see this, and instead they see the other things about me. But one of the things that helped me tremendously was, like, that Brian East could be a loser, or Brian East could make mistakes, but Blythe's dad, my daughter's, Blythe's dad couldn't. So anytime I feel like that, like, I have to stop myself. Brian East, you know, I'm capable of silly stuff, but Blythe's dad doesn't have that luxury. He has to be on point. She has to be at school. She has to do whatever. So if you got moms, dads, uncles, aunts, brothers, sisters, whatever it is, maybe that's that thing. Those people that you love, that you care about. If you can't love yourself, do it for them. You know, like, for me, it's Blythe's dad. Let that person take over. You know, let that be your motivation. And I hope that you get that help, but let that drive you to do those things that you need to do. So.
Absolutely, man.
But either way, that's I'm always going to end it like that. I'm always going to make sure that people know you're loved, you're wanted.
Well, that's episode 1 of The Bear Trap, man.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's the name, by the way. So we're going to be The Bear Trap. And if you are interested in being a part of this, we are going to be continuing to do it. I think for right now, we're talking about doing it a monthly thing.
Bi-weekly, monthly. I don't know. This one went really well, and I'm really excited about it, so I don't know.
As often as we can, we're going to try to do these at least once a month is going to be our goal, I think, for right now. And then the more we can do it, better. If you'd like to be on this, we want you to be a part of the podcast. We want you to be on this. We want to hear your questions, comments, concerns, the things that you think about as well. So,
not to mention every walk of life does jiu-jitsu too. I don't think we really covered that much on this episode. We got, but yeah, so that's one of the purposes of this podcast, is to kind of showcase all walks of life and everybody involved in this, because every member in this gym has a different path they're on right now.
Absolutely.
And we have complete polar opposites that fist bump every single day in here, and it doesn't matter what your background is, it doesn't matter where you've been, what you've done. And I think that's another key aspect of jiu-jitsu is that there's no judgment in jiu-jitsu. Everyone can get choked out.
Yeah. So as far as like the no politics thing, it's just jiu-jitsu. That was what it all boiled down to. I'm not here to sell you gis. I'm not here to sell you rash guards. I'm not here to sell you a summer camp or anything else. I'm here to just do jiu-jitsu. I want to teach you jiu-jitsu. Either way, as far as like the all walks of life thing, absolutely, that's super duper true. And I if there's anything holding you back from coming in here, please reach out, touch base with somebody, talk to them about it. This is something that just about anybody can do. I won't say everybody, because man, there's going to be some outliers here, there, and yonder. But if you're thinking,
it can be for everybody.
Absolutely, it 100% could be for everybody. Just man, don't let fear stand in your way. Don't let anything stop you. Whatever you're dealing with, your ailments, injuries, your situations, it can be worked around. We can figure out whatever we need to make sure that you get to be a part of this stuff.
Thank you.
But yeah, thank y'all very much for listening. Appreciate it. Once again, I'm Bryan East, and this has been
Rene Luderbach.
Holler. Hey.
I can't hear you. Hello.